No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Michael, aka Pichael. I'm going to do a highlight today of the biggest, I think the biggest surprise from last night, LGD versus RNG. We're going to take a look at why LGD was able to pull off the huge upset against RNG. Now, anyone who's been watching my videos for any amount of time knows that I'm a big fan of LGD, specifically because of their jungler, Peanut. I love junglers in general because they are the ones who are most likely to create the winning difference for their team, especially if they're an underdog. So the reason that is because junglers are able to go anywhere on the map, basically whenever they want to. And it allows them, like if they get a lead, they are not only putting their lead into their lane, they're putting it into everyone else's lane. So if you see the guy holding the Peanut, that's what we like to call a context clue. That is Peanut. He's adorable. He's like he was a very famous streamer, I think, before he was a professional. And he's just really good at both. So now we're in the draft. You see LGD banned out Renekton, Rumble, and Kassadin. Some interesting bans. Those are mostly targeted at Xiaohu, the mid laner, who has a very large champion pool, so I'm not sure if that's worth it or not. RNG understands that Peanut is the most important player on his team, so they banned out Sejuani and Jarvan, leaving up Senna for first pick. And again, anyone who has watched my channel for any amount of time knows that I think Senna is a very good champion. RNG picks up Varus next. I think that Varus is an extremely popular champion right now, but if you look at the bottom of the screen, he has a 23% ban rate, a 42% pick rate, and a 50% win rate. So he's only winning half of the games that he is involved in, which makes me think that he is not creating the winning difference for his team. Next up, they picked Set. I think Set is a good champion. You can basically justify picking him in any scenario, and no one's going to call you a psychopath for it. Next up is LGD. I'm going to speed this up a little bit, or a lot. Next up is Nautilus and Azir, two pretty basic champions. Nautilus is a great pick into Varus because he wants to basically move him off of his spot. I always think of immobile AD carries as pocket quarterbacks. You need to move them off their spot to limit the amount of damage they can do to your team. And Azir is a very good blind pick champion, and he also has the ability to move Varus off of his spot by using his shuffle in and then using his ultimate to knock Varus somewhere else. RNG gets Braum. Braum is pretty passive in lane. So RNG is basically saying, like, you guys can do whatever you want in lane, which I think is actually a pretty huge mistake against Senna, because Senna is going to be able to get all of her souls and extra harassment off of Braum. He's going to have to be very passive in the lane, which is going to make it a little more difficult for Varus to CS. So then RNG locks in Trundle. Trundle is a pretty good jungler. I think he's a little overrated. I understand that he has a good clear. He can be on the map for a long time. He's just a little like underwhelming for me. He's not a very exciting champion to play or to play against. He's just kind of annoying. LGD responds with Wukong and Lee Sin. Lee Sin is a good champion. He can get after Varus pretty well, and Wukong can get after Varus too. So basically, when I'm looking at this team fight, I think that it's impossible for Varus to stay safe for the entire time. There are a ton of ways for LGD to get onto him. Azir can initiate a team fight. Lee Sin can initiate a team fight. So can Azir. So can Nautilus. I think that's a great draft from LGD. And obviously, we already know the result that LGD won this game, but I haven't watched this match yet, so I am kind of just projecting my thoughts onto the match of what I would expect to see help create a winning difference in the game. And then the last two picks the last pick I didn't talk about was Sylas. So Sylas is a good champion, especially when the other team has a lot of good ultimates, and Wukong has a good ultimate, Lee Sin has a good ultimate, Azir, Senna, and Nautilus. Everybody has a good ultimate on that team, so Sylas is a valid choice. I'm not sure about the Sylas into Azir matchup. I feel like you lose that pretty hard in the early game, theoretically getting poked out if you don't play it correctly. You really don't want to get into a ranged mismatch if you can avoid it. But Xiaohu's a very good player. If anybody can figure out this matchup, it's him. So we're going to skip ahead to First Blood, if we can find it. Ooh. 3 early kills. Okay, so LGD started up a dragon. Is this why there were 3 kills? It looks like they try to contest it. So it's a 4-on-4 for the most part. Let's slow that down and look at it more closely. Alright, so right now we can see that LGD is on the dragon right now, and we're 6 minutes into the game, so this is a relatively early dragon. Like, if you're someone who plays League of Legends, you know that in your solo queue matches, unless somebody's trying to like sneak a dragon, you're not going to get it around the 6-minute mark. It requires a decent amount of resources, and if it fails, you're not completely screwed, but it does hurt your team, so it is a little easier to pull off in a team environment. So everybody on LGD responded to that call first. You have Azir, Lee Sin, Senna, and Nautilus in position, helping him take the dragon, and then also being able to turn and fight. So we have Braum and Trundle both kind of just walked into Nautilus, which is going to let Nautilus get the engage onto them by using his passive. Right now he's but every time he auto attacks a champion, he can root them for a short amount of time. So right now it's a 3-on-2. They probably should have waited a little extra time to get in there, but I'm sure that Trundle was feeling pressure because he wanted to be able to potentially get in and smite. But right now, you can tell this is going to be a bad situation. Varus doesn't have any mana, Sylas doesn't have much mana, Braum doesn't have much mana either. So if this comes down to people just auto-attacking each other back and forth, obviously the advantage is going to go to the team with more players. So let's play it out. Braum's passive is very strong, but not strong enough in this situation. So Peanut goes in. This is part of the reason why they were so good on DraftKings, I'm going to bet, is because they have very high correlated kill participation. So not only did they get an early kill, 4 members of the team benefit from that kill. And then they're able to follow this and chase down. That's a good hook by Nautilus. Unlucky interaction, but that is kind of what you can expect when you go 3 into 4 people. Varus didn't even leave his lane, I guess, in that situation. So that's not great. What's the gold lead after that? So that's already a 1,000 gold lead at 6 minutes and 30 something seconds, and they were able to pick up 2 kills and a dragon. So the next play on the map, it looks like LGD is trying to force an early Rift Herald. Well, this isn't early, so we're at the 8-minute mark. One thing that we often see is the blue team goes for Rift Herald around the 8-minute mark by moving their bot lane up to the Rift Herald, which they're doing right now. They're just walking up. And the trade that teams have kind of decided is relatively fair is to have the red team push in the bottom tower and try to get turret plates to counter the amount of turret plates that are going to be taken by the blue team. Personally, I don't like this trade because what you're really banking on, if you're the red team, is blue side staying and doing a 4-man dive in the bot lane. So this is a pretty intelligent gank by LGD because they think to themselves, like, we have shown that we're going to pressure Rift Herald. Everyone's just going to assume that we're staying on Rift Herald and that our support is going to be with our AD carry Senna in the top lane, but he ends up going for a gank in the mid lane and it succeeds, it's a smart play. You don't see that very often, and that's kind of the problem with agreeing to these like handshakes before. Not they don't actually agree to the handshake, but by opting into this kind of strategy, you're just assuming that the other side is doing the strategy as well and not trying to cheat it a little bit. but they successfully cheated. Okay, so Peanut goes in a little too far, but he has the support of his team. Set is here. Azir is on his way. That's a mistake by LGD. They kind of went too far for that. The Rift Herald was able to get first tower. They have a little bit over a 2,000 gold lead. And this, in my opinion, this position is something that you should be able to win if you're a professional team almost every time. RNG is able to... Are they able to take this tower? It looks like Nautilus is going to be able to keep them off of it. So this is the problem. If you're not going to fully commit to trading Rift Herald for the tower, then you can get into this kind of scenario where you're just down 1,000 gold from towers, and you're going to have to create pressure across the map in order to take that tower. And since we know Dragon is coming up in 40 seconds, they're probably not going to be able to push it out and contest the tower and the Dragon at the same time. So that pushes the timer. This pushes back the amount of time you're going to spend at a gold disadvantage. Yeah, that's not great. So if they were willing to fight the first one, I guess they're theoretically willing to fight this Dragon as well, but I think that would be an obvious mistake. They're down 2,500 gold. I'm not sure if they realize they're down 2,500 gold. Like, they obviously know that they're in a losing, like, not a lost position, but a currently losing position. So let's see what they decide to do here. They have 3 people at the bottom of the map. LGD is setting up a gank, but I doubt they're just going to walk into them. Okay, so it looks like LGD decided we don't care about the bot lane. We're just going to dive mid and then go to Dragon. So Peanut goes in really deep, flash kicks. Are they going to get him? Do they lose Dragon off of this? Okay, so they got a kill with 4 people getting assists. That's very good from a gold perspective, but it's not worth giving up Dragon and tower. So that's a very poor macro decision. It looks like they'll be able to get this tower, so it justifies it a little bit, but I'd rather have a kill and a Dragon than a kill and a tower. Some people will argue that the mid tower is more important. I can see the argument. From a pressure perspective on the map, they're correct, but in a pure gold evaluation, they're not. And in order for RNG to get back in the game, they're going to need to win a fight, and the fight's going to be determined by gold and skill, not by strange. Oh, I was going to say not by map pressure. So now the game is probably a couple minutes away from anything really exciting happening. I would expect most of the pressure to come around the next Dragon. So let's skip ahead a couple minutes. All right, so this is the next Dragon. So we have another Rift Herald fight. I wish they had the Rift Herald timer on here too, because that would make it a little easier to know exactly where that's going. So they lose Rift Herald off of this because they didn't have enough people here, but they go in for an engage. Do they get a kill here? That's a good hook. Okay, so they pick up a kill. He's only dead for 30 seconds. They're not going to be able to get the Dragon off of this, but they can push in the lane and then get vision for Dragon. So I guess this is okay. They're basically... RNG is going to have Xiaohu probably teleport into the Dragon fight while they burn this tower really fast. So this is a very good use of time. There's no sense in standing around the Dragon when it's not going to be up for another 20 seconds. So it looks like Azir is backing. I would prefer if he didn't back there if I was playing, because I want my team to be ready to kill Dragon on spawn. You know that the enemy team was back in their base and doesn't have vision, so you could just kill it immediately, and worst case scenario is you're going to be able to force Silas to teleport to the fight. Another thing that they could have done is back off to the bot tower and try to take the bot tower. So right now, RNG has position, and LGD gave away all of their vision, which is not a good idea. You spent time and effort and gold setting up that vision, and they just kind of gave it away for free. So now we have LGD going in. Nautilus gets his ultimate off. Set gets a really good ult. Wukong gets in there. So I mean, this is one of the better Wukong performances that I've seen. Like, I guess the ones that we've seen have been pretty ugly so far in the LPL. Like, if Wukong has been picked 6 times, I think only 3 of them have been good games, and the rest of them have been, like, horrifyingly bad. So they get a dragon. They get a huge team fight win. That's 4 kills. Now they're up 6,000 gold. There is no scenario where LGD should lose this game. They don't have a huge scaling disadvantage. They have more pressure on the map. They have 2 dragons already. If LGD just plays this game slow and plays around dragons and a potential Baron fight, then they should win, because the gold advantage is so large that it should basically just be a stat check in the fight. And unless they make some kind of monumental positioning error or just play horribly, they should win the game. And professional teams, you cannot assume that they're going to play horribly, so allowing the game to get this out of hand is pretty bad by RNG. That's just a replay. So the next dragon's in 2 minutes. Baron has spawned at this point. They have a little bit of vision here, and you can see that Azir has a sweeper, so he's sweeping out vision as well. I guess they're going to miss that one right there. But their main goal right now is to get vision all around Baron so that they know if they have a potential to sneak it. But Senna is not a very good Baron champion, so I doubt that they're really looking to sneak it. They're probably trying to set up a vision, an absence of vision for RNG, so that they have to walk in and try to get a pick or something like that. Wow, Xiaohu has 5 deaths at this point in the game. That's not good. So Dragon's up in 3 minutes. Alright, so now we have another fight. So this is partially created by the lack of vision by RNG. RNG sees that there were 2 people in their jungle, and it's 4v2 at the beginning, but then it's quickly 4v3. That's a good ult by Senna. They had some of their summoners, so they weren't really in that much danger, I guess, but it was pretty risky. That was a pretty risky play by LGD. Peanut, the God, 3-0 and 6. 3-0-7. Senna's 5-1 and 7. They're all just huge at this point. One thing I like about Senna, like fasting Senna, where she allows the support to get a lot of CS and experience, is that if you take a look at the levels right now, Senna's only 12 compared to Varus is 13, but Nautilus is 12 compared to Braum's 10. And a lot of that is determined by like how many kills that they have on their team and stuff like that. But allowing your support to get more gold this way makes them more of a real champion as opposed to a support like on low economy. So that's another added benefit of playing Senna. Varus got an okay ult off in that fight too. They're just too far behind at this point. Azir came in and instantly did a lot of damage. Set's looking for a person to ult back into the fight, but I guess he couldn't. Wukong comes in and gets a good ultimate off. Yeah, there's no way that LGD should lose this. So they took Baron. They're probably going to shove out everything and then go for Dragon. Let's just speed this up because we know this game is over. So LGD sweeping out vision. Set's trying to contest it for some reason. RNG's all pretty stacked together. They're looking to just get off a pick to like buy themselves some more time. But Azir is top lane, easily takes a tower. They easily take this tower. Free inhibitor. Not really sure what RNG is doing here. They're just going to back off on a dragon now. So I wonder if RNG feels compelled to fight this. It looks like they need to fight this. So that's completely free. I mean, it's not like they had many choices. They couldn't like sacrifice their base for a dragon. They were just in a horrible spot. So that's game over. Right? Yeah, that's game over. Wait, what? They didn't end the game off of that? I guess they're taking their sweet time. So they just pushed in the inhibitor and then reset? So I guess they were kind of afraid? Oh, was that a pentakill? Did I miss that? Huh. So the Baron buff power play, they got 5,000 gold off of that. And they already had a huge lead. So this is just insane. This is the kind of game where professional teams aren't allowed to surrender. Any other situation, they would have already given up at this point. So they just wasted, well, not wasted. They both used their TP trying to get a pick, but it didn't work out. Set just dies. Almost kills Kramer there. That's pretty interesting. Xiaohu's just getting dominated on Silas. That's pretty funny. And the game is over. Okay, let's go to the next draft. Oh. Wow, they really give away Senna twice. So Senna Azir again versus Kalista Set. Kalista was open last game and they didn't pick him. Tom Kench is a very strong support with fasting Senna. RNG must not think it's strong or it must not fit their playstyle. Set's a good champion. Syndra's a fine champion against Azir. It's kind of like an innocuous matchup. It doesn't have a big advantage one way or the other. I prefer Azir in that matchup because Syndra can kind of just blow up one champion pretty easily, but Azir has ways to like manipulate positioning in team fights a little better with his ultimate, and he's also better at taking Baron, and I place a very high emphasis on being able to take Baron. I think sneaking Baron is like one of the best things to have in your back pocket just in case you're in a losing position. So they take away Lee Sin from Peanut. They go Ornn, and they go Kindred because I saw it when they were doing it before. So that's one reason why I love Peanut, is that Peanut can play all of these carry champions. He can play Lee Sin. He can play Sejuani if he has to, but he's much better when he's on something like a Kindred or a Graves or an Elise or something that is going to actually try to carry the game. So he's going to like take gold for himself and try to carry the game. He has done that on tank champions before, like Sejuani, but it's much simpler to carry the game when you're on a carry champion. That's pretty straightforward. So her ultimate's pretty good. Set can take somebody out of Kindred ultimate. Syndra can kill somebody before her ultimate's finished. Vladimir can kind of punish people for standing on her ultimate, because if they're like staying there and he uses all of his abilities at the end and then ults them, they're going to take a lot of damage at the end of it once it's like despawned, and then Lee Sin can kick people out. So that's all pretty good. Alright, so there's already a kill. First kill of the game. That's an easy gank from Peanut. It's kind of unforgivable to die in the beginning of the game when your jungler's on the top half of the map and you're pushed too far. Like, if you know that your jungler is going to path onto the top side, you should probably not push your wave. So what's the gold lead at? Plus 700. That's no big deal. They're going to have to do some more things to increase that lead. There haven't been any dragons taken left. They overextend again. That really wasn't as overextended as the previous one. So now RNG's probably feeling a little desperate already because the last game they lost and they want to make a play. They pick up Tom Kench, but they just go 1 for 1. Yeah, so they're just going to let them put some damage on the tower. They didn't really spend much in that scenario, so Azir gets to catch up on CS a little bit, and he'll be able to take a tower eventually. Wow, and then Peanut looks like he's going to get a kill. So that was pretty smart. He basically snuck into that bush, and Lee Sin thought that he had enough vision covered between the mid lane pink ward and the other ward that's right by the entrance to the blue buff. But instead, Kindred's able to pick up a kill and then the dragon. So it's a 1.2k gold lead. They get the dragon. There's a mark on the top half of the map, so Kindred's going to run to that as fast as possible. But it looks like Lee Sin's going to be able to take that away from her. And we have everybody moving up to Rift Herald now. So Lee Sin's invading, trying to get some vision on Kindred. Finds Kindred. Finds the blue buff. So there's already 5 people on the map for RNG. They could have had the position to start the Rift Herald, but I guess they didn't feel like it was the right time to start it. I would hope that my team started it if I was the coach or if I was a player on the team. Their Rift Herald's control is pretty bad on the side of LGD. But they get 1, 2, 3 kills. They lose Rift Herald, but they get 3 kills. So that's a 2,000 gold lead. Looks like top tower is going to take some damage. Mid tower is going to take some damage. And there will be a plate taken, I would think. Yeah, so top had 1 plate taken. And they're going to be able to continuously pressure mid lane because they have a range advantage. Don't really need to see this. Set's ultimate wasn't good in that fight. Which doesn't mean that he had a better option, it's just that it wasn't good. Okay. So we have another teleport play. They're spending a lot on this. They're able to get 2 kills. 3 kills. How does this get turned around? So 3 kills for 1. LGD gets mid tower. Mid tower's pretty beneficial to have when you're Kindred because you're able to invade easier and pick up the marks that your passive creates across the map. That's just a replay. So it's 7-4. They have a little bit under a 2,000 gold lead. They gave up a dragon at this point. They're going to fight over the next Rift Herald. The last one didn't go too hot for you, RNG. Maybe just give this one away. RNG has 4 people around the mid lane. So it looks like they're trying to make a play there. It's only a 1,000 gold lead at this point. Which is actually very good for RNG because it means that they're able to overcome the artificial gold lead from like the towers. Did she have a mark on that? Oh wow, that was... How did he not die? He didn't use his ultimate, or he did use his ultimate there. I thought he used his ultimate and then dragged Kindred away, and then he had to flash back or Q back. Not a big deal. Not a game-changing play. So now it's closer to 2,000 gold lead because they took another tower. There's a mark on their side of the jungle. But Dragon's coming up in 50 seconds. Kindred only has 3 marks at this point in the game, which isn't very good. They use the Rift Herald to get another tower, so now they have a 3 tower gold lead. I would expect that, without being able to see anything, I would expect their gold lead to be closer to 3,000, but it's a little bit under 3,000, which means that there are other things happening on the map that are limiting how much gold they're collecting, which is the whole like fasting Senna situation. The Tom Kench isn't doing a great job CSing. Probably by choice. Like for pressure around the map or something like that. So Set goes in, has a good ultimate. Okay, let's slow this one down. Alright, so RNG has a flank in the bottom. Vlad's going to look to come around the other side and pressure them separately. And I guess so is Syndra. So they're coming from like 2 angles right now, and then there will be a 3rd angle when Vlad gets a little closer. RNG's already on the dragon, taking damage. Not a significant amount of damage, but damage nonetheless. Set's goal right now is to take one of the tanks and use his ultimate onto the backline. So this is a very good ultimate. He only hits Azir. Azir dies from Syndra ultimate. Ornn gets in there. Kindred is pumping out a ton of damage. She's able to do whatever she wants in that fight. Senna's also able to do whatever she wants in that fight. Tahm Kench tries to follow up with his ultimate. Basically forces them off of the dragon. So that's 2 dragons to 1 and a 3 tower advantage. So now they're trying to catch them. Let's see. Oh, wow. They actually got them to stop. How did that happen? Set can pull you out of that? That seems pretty broken. That was a good knockback by Xiaohu. And then, I mean, pulling Kindred off of her ultimate is questionable, I guess. Not sure what the thought was behind that. But now it's a 3,000 gold lead. In order for RNG to really come back in this game, they need to even up the towers. That should be the priority. Because every time you take a tower, you're cutting about 1,000 gold off of the deficit. Alright, we don't need to see the replay. 11-7. It looks like RNG made a good play and got a pick. Let's see what happened. Let's speed it up. So Senna is not a good champion at taking Baron, but they still have a lot of Baron threat because they can use Kindred and Azir. Tahm Kench and Senna go in. They think that they're in a powerful position, but we all know that they die. So they're a little overextended. That was a very nice kick by XLB. They are not able to get anything off of this though. So they still have the 3 tower disadvantage. Like if they got a couple shutdowns, like big shutdowns off of that, that'd be a little nicer. But that's not the case. Skip ahead. Oh. Okay, so they're in position for Baron again. They're clearing vision. RNG feels like they might be on it, so they're starting to contest the vision more heavily. Ornn, instead of teleporting, Ornn used Ghost and was going to just run to mid lane, which is pretty smart. You get there relatively fast with Ghost. Not as fast as teleport, but pretty quick. Azir goes in for an engage, misses his ultimate. Let's start slowing it down. So they're going to pressure this tower. Lee Sin's looking for another good engage, which at this point we know he's a very good Lee Sin player and that he can make an interesting engage. So they probably should have shown him a little more respect than that. 45 seconds until Dragon. They're trying to stop it back. They just assume that he hasn't backed yet, which is interesting. And it's pretty lucky that they actually found him. So now he's going to die, and they're going to get a Dragon off of this for free because his death timer is going to have him dead for another 20 seconds by the time Dragon comes up. They're a little low, but they have enough sustain from Senna. This positioning is kind of weird. So RNG's down a person, or down a champion, but they're still aggressively positioning, which I think is something that more teams should do. Like, they know that there's no vision here. They're looking for another flank. The last flank didn't work out so great. LGD doesn't care at all. So they just start with the Dragon. I don't know if Set can really kill Kindred in that scenario. Lee Sin manages to steal the Dragon, which is very good. because that denies the Dragon Soul. So good for them on that. That's pretty good. But they lose their jungler and their support, so now it's a free Baron. So is stopping Dragon Soul worth the other team getting Baron? I would say probably yes. But once they take this Baron, you basically know that they're going to have another 2 towers worth of advantage over you. So that's going to be a 3 tower advantage. Would have been pretty cool if Set just killed Kindred, but not very likely. Vlad's out of position. Like, if the other team has Baron, the chances of you successfully defending this tower or any of the other second towers, the inner towers, is very low. And you run the risk of being dove, because at this point in the game, there are so many tanky champions, they just don't care about that tower. So they kill a tower. That's a pretty good amount of damage out of Set. But that's a free tower, free inhibitor. And LGD shows that they want to take it slow again, which is what they did last game. It's a little passive, maybe too passive in my opinion. But if they feel like they can kind of just paint by numbers and win the game, is anybody really going to complain about it? I would hope not. If this was a more important game, I think they probably would have tried to just go for it at that point, because they were in a winning position right there. Maybe they felt like it was too difficult to engage in their base. Okay. So again, we're in another situation where there is an outer tower that they're not going to be able to defend successfully. They kind of pretend like they're going to try to stop them and then give it up. There's pressure in all 3 lanes right now by minions because of the inhibitor and the Baron buffs. I don't know if it's really worth fighting at this point for RNG, for these 2 towers and inhibitors specifically. Like, it seems inevitable that they're going to fall down. Okay, so Senna's just doing a ton of damage to Lee Sin. They're still going for it. Set goes in, Kindred pops her ultimate. Baron buff is gone, so they can definitely defend these towers, or at least try to defend these towers. I think it makes sense. Now we have 2 more waves of minions crashing, and then another one coming up right behind it. I wonder how they die here. It doesn't seem like an easy place to get an engage off. Xiaohu just overextended. He just got way too close. They trade back 2 for 1. 3 for 1, so that's a good fight. Huh, how did that happen? That didn't seem like it was going to end with LGD getting killed by everyone. So that is a pretty big loss. They gave up a lot of gold in terms of shutdowns. So this is pretty scary if you're an LGD fan. And this is also the reason why sometimes it pays to just take the riskier position and try to convert it when you have the chance, because this is always a possibility, like where the other team that's a good team can kind of just pull off a big team fight upset. So this is interesting. I do want to watch this again. So Azir just gets exploded by Kalista after Syndra dies, and then Vladimir does a lot of damage, obviously. Lee Sin's able to take out Kindred. And they give up a dragon. So it's Betty is 17, Senna is 15, and the level advantage is gone on the supports. Kindred has a 2-level advantage, but we saw her die in the last fight. I mean, it becomes a very interesting game at this point. I could see them being a little gun shy, just because they're like, well, the last time we tried to push something in, it didn't work out. I'm surprised. I'm honestly surprised that they're not playing more passively, because if they just set up Vision again around Baron and force them to fight around Baron, which one's better? It may actually be better to fight them in their base, because if you lose that team fight base in the opposing base, the chances of you losing the game outright is lower. Like, if you lose a Baron fight and then they take Baron, you're probably in a worse position. So they're trying to minimize their bad positions there. That was a pretty good engage. If LGD wins this fight, they got pretty fortunate. And they just win the fight. Okay, Callista still actually has a real chance of winning this team fight. Do they actually lose this fight too? What happens in this game? Oh my god. That's amazing. Was this series 2-0 or 2-1? I honestly forget, and this looks like a game that could just get reversed. Ornn has Smite. That would be so funny if this game is like saved by an Ornn because of Smite. So now, once they're all back up, I'll know like how big of a level, if there's any more of a level advantage. There's probably not. So let's see. Kindred's probably, she's not even afraid of Ornn at this point. 3 people from RNG came up first, so they're just going to try to get there first, have Lee Sin come in, and then smite with a Callista Rend. Oh, her stacks fell off. Her stacks fell off, right? That's a pretty big mistake. They have everybody here. Wow, so they get the Baron. They get Baron, but they lose Vladimir. So that's 50 seconds where LGD can look to try to fight them. I guess Baron's not going to be enough and they just lose their base? Is that what happens here? They can definitely take at least 1 or 2 inhibitors. It looks like they're probably going to end up taking all 3 inhibitors just from the posturing of RNG. RNG might be thinking to themselves, give up the inhibitors. They don't matter. If we have to stall out the game for another 5 to 10 minutes, we can just try to do that instead. Okay, so that's 1 inhibitor gone. Ornn takes a lot of damage. So at one point, Kindred had a 2-level advantage. Now it's only a 1-level advantage. The AD carry still has a 2-level advantage on RNG. And they're looking for another fight. That was a pretty good disengage by Azir. But it still looks like they're losing this team fight. And now he's teleporting in. This is a crazy fucking game. There's no way that they actually win this team fight, right? How does this game end? Is this like an hour-long game? Did I miss something last night? I had no idea. Man, I wish I stayed up and watched this. This was the first game, right? Damn, unlucky. This would have been amazing to watch live. With like DFS implications and stuff. This is the kind of stuff that you stay up until 9 in the morning for. Not those garbage lineups that we've had in the past. Or garbage contests we've had in the past. So they do end up taking the dragon, and this is the kind of thing that can potentially just end the game. I mean, obviously Baron's the kind of thing that can end the game too. But, yeah. Let's see what happens. Let's speed this shit up. So they've reset again. Wow, 42.5 minute game. Well, well, well. So at this point in the game, the gold lead doesn't matter at all. This game is just going to be who plays it better or who is in a more advantageous position. So if the fight happens in RNG's base, I would say LGD has the better position, because even if they lose the fight, they're not necessarily going to lose the game. So even though the gold lead is gone, with the amount of map pressure they have and the location of the fight most likely occurring in RNG's base, I would give the slight advantage to LGD. Alright, so the fight's starting. They get a good Ornn ultimate. Kindred tries to flank, but is unsuccessful. Azir has to dash out. Lee Sin almost dies. Wow. He took a lot of damage. Are they going to get a Baron for free off of that? See, this is what's crazy. Lee Sin has to go try to lifesteal on a camp instead of just going... Wow, they actually could have finished that Baron if they just went for it. But I understand why they didn't go for it. It is a pretty risky play. So everybody's just kind of dancing around at this point. Oh, they go for a base race. And the inhibitor comes up. Oh my god, that's so funny. Okay, so Lee Sin gets Baron. But Kalista and Syndra somehow die? Wow. Man, it's too bad that they didn't have like multiple cameras on that, because that's a crazy way to end the game. Alright. Well, you saw it here second. LGD pulls off the miracle upset, barely, by the skin of their teeth. 48-minute game.
No, you don't need the.
Legend. He a 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 legend. Welcome to the league. 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 Welcome to the league. To the league. To the league. To the league. To the league.
Pichael money, Pichael money, Pichael money. We making Pichael money. Payday, about to throw a rack on China. Need some DFS advice, where can I find some? League of Items got the sheet with all the lineups and all the stacks that you need to get to diamond. League of Items!
Getting gold, that's the goal. Keep on winning on a roll. Kill 4 dragons, got soul. Now you got nowhere to go. Teleporting top to bot. Dive your carry on the spot. That's an ace. Wreck your base. Wear my crown. We